and welcome to the Seahawks 360 podcast. I'm Candace Higgins.
And I'm salty.
That's a great explanation. Tino, like many others today, they are salty. Yeah, absolutely. Really bitter loss from your Seattle Seahawks at home yet again against the division rival 49ers. There is a lot to get into with this game, unfortunately. Um, Man, let's just start with the obvious. It's hard not to watch that game and not have major concerns about the offense. So, Tino, let's start with you.
Uh, yeah, I think every part of the offense is a concern. Every position, including running back. The sorry, I'm getting a little feedback here. Quarterback is the major concern for me. This team's not going anywhere. Said that in the beginning. Say that now. I just he had an opportunity in this game. He had opportunities to make throws. I don't love the wide receiver room, but Sam Darnold is just I don't know, number 20 starting quarterback in the NFL who got a little glow up with Minnesota with Justin Jefferson, right? And a great offensive line. He is what he is. He didn't take a lot of chances, but I think that's because that's what he's being told to do. I don't think he's capable of completing difficult passes. Maybe sometimes because he's an NFL quarterback, but not enough to want him to do it. This offense isn't going anywhere. It starts with the offensive line, right? The offensive line didn't really show up in this game. But K9 looked like a running back who was out of, kind of a fish in water. I don't think this offense is built for him. I said that before as well. And let me tell you, Cooper Kupp is washed. Because if Cooper Kupp could get any sort of separation in this game, he would have been targeted. But he couldn't. That's why I think we saw the ball go to JSN so much. I do think JSN is better than I've been giving him credit for. I don't think he's a true number one, but I think he's like elite number two or an okay one. Cooper Kupp is washed, cooked, right? There was no separation. And then the tight ends, were okay. I think it's what you could expect from a young tight end room. But the offense, all in all, was an incredible disappointment to me. This Niners team was there to be had. This should have been a Seahawks win. And don't let me get started on Abe Lucas. I know we went back and forth a little bit over social media about that last play, but from what I saw, he just got run over. If he could have stood his ground, Sam Darnold would have had time. I think Darnold, as you put, I think it's a very good point that Darnold could have stepped up in the pocket, and his pocket awareness isn't great. But that play to me is on Abe Lucas. Abe Lucas needs to be able to stand him up, and he got pushed directly into the quarterback. So for me, I think my whatever it was, 7-10, 6-11, right, 8-9, somewhere in that range. That's what this team looks like to me. Even if this offense does get a little bit better, this team doesn't deserve to win. To me, it's a developmental year.
All right, we got a couple comments in the chat from Steve-O. What's up, Steve-O? First, he was like, "There's an echo." I don't know if that's still going on. Give us feedback on if you're hearing it on my end or who's in.
I'm hearing it as well.
You're hearing the echo too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I'll continue to work on that on the back end. But to Steve-O's point, he thought Woolen was a guy. Woolen absolutely, you got mossed.
We'll get into the defense.
Yeah, the defense. We got to have a long conversation about. I've been someone willing. I wouldn't call myself a reek defender, but I've been willing to take some of the good with the bad over the years, just because I believe his overall upside has been worth it. But it seems like it's almost getting worse. Like it seems like these same issues holding up in spot moments are still just as bad.
Right.
So I'm not really sure we'll come back to the defense for sure, but that's definitely a good call out by Steve. What's up? Thanks for listening.
Can you hear me?
But you said what?
You can hear me without echo now? No, there's still echo.
Yeah, I'm trying to fix it on my end. I really don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know what more I can do here. I'll continue to tinker with some things
Okay.
in the settings and see.
I we'll get to Reek for sure because we'll get
Yeah.
to this defense. I went
Yeah.
back and forth with somebody on Blue Sky about Reek, and he was kind of defending him, saying that he was playing solid, and I was like, no, he's not, and he's inconsistent right now. You see, to me, we saw the great in Reek, and we saw the horrible at corner. Give me solid, especially across from Spoon. Give me solid. Give me someone I can count on to make some decent plays sometimes, and someone who is going to get beat once in a while, and then is also going to make some decent plays. Give me just consistent. But the way he played in that fourth quarter, if this was a truly rebuilding team, or if Coach McDonald and John Schneider thought this was a rebuilding team, man, I think about cutting him. I think about getting some kind of fourth, fifth round pick for him, like on Monday, because he played horribly. And it's frustrating because he has sub 4.3 speed. He's 6'4" with huge arms. Like, this is a dude that it's all focus with him. He proved in that first year when he was hungry that he can be elite. He has elite traits. But at this point in time, what's this, year 4? And you're talking about either extending him or letting him go? Uh-uh. We'll get to him. The defense was great. We won't get into that now. The defense looked good. I'm not tripping on the defense. It's that we have. I don't even know if Sam Darnold's the NFL starter. That's how it felt in this game.
Yeah, I will say this. So my stance on is not. I do not. Okay, okay. People said it's fixed. All right. Hopefully that stays to be the case. Cool. Thanks, Devo. But so I'll tell you what. One thing I'll start with where I disagree with you on. So there are certain things that I completely agree with you on. One thing that I do disagree with you on is the offensive line. I thought the offensive line wasn't great, but I certainly think that it was good enough. I thought. I mean, they kept Sam Darnold clean. They gave up. They did not give up a lot of pressures. I gave up one sack.
They gave up one.
Um,
Hold on, though. So they kept him clean because of all those quick passes and all the screens, right? They also kept him clean, and they also only got 3.2 yards a carry on a team that was supposed to give up yards against the run.
yeah,
Just
but
counterpoint.
when you're thinking about the fact that this is their first game, I think
And it's the
I think
Niners' first game too.
I think we're forgetting how bad this offensive line has been,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think the offensive line was the issue until the end of the game. Nobody called Nick Bosa's name. How many games has he had 14 like pressures
Sure.
against the Seahawks? Has he taken over entire games? Yeah, I hear the echo too. It's back.
Yep.
It's on my end. I might hop off and hop back on. But I think when it comes to this offense and this offensive line in particular, I see some progress. I don't think they
Yes.
were gonna go from bottom of the league
Mm-hmm.
to fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was never going to happen. I think they were average. I think they were average. I think they had some losses, as an average offensive line would have. They were not dominant, but I didn't expect dominance. I believe of all the people on the offense, frankly, other than JSN, they did their job, I would dare say, the best. I mean, when you look at all of the other issues that you had across the board, yeah, I would say the best. Why wouldn't you say that
I,
given how few pressures Sam Darnold had? Yeah, I get some of that's quick passes, but that also hasn't mattered in
well,
previous years.
and that line, but their line. So Niners line was remade, right? And so I think they have that same excuse where there was some new players on that line that were getting a lot of time. I'd also say that in if you play well until it counts, and then Nick Bosa runs you over in the clutch, I don't know if I can say you were average, right? Because you may have played okay up until that point in time, but you gave up a huge sack, strip sack, no less, when it mattered, right? You got ran straight back into the quarterback when it mattered. So yeah, I think they played okay overall. I do think they kept Darnold clean. I do think that was a huge part of the scheme. I also think Charbonnet did a pretty decent job. I don't think Charbonnet played bad. I want to see more from him, but he ran decisively, right? He made yards where he could. I don't think he made any egregious mistakes. I think K9 is looks like I said like a fish out of water. I don't think K9 belongs in this offense. I just don't. And I think they were what's interesting is they were calling plays that were more quick hitting for K9. You could tell they were trying to cater the play call to his style. They do not believe he's an outside zone running back. That much is clear to me. And Charbonnet does. Charbonnet just looks like a better fit. I don't believe Charbonnet is a more talented running back. I think he is a much better fit for this scheme, right? And that's an issue. To me, that's an issue that we didn't identify this and deal with this coming into the year. If you expect it to compete this year, but as far as that offensive line goes, yeah, I think they played okay. But again, if you put up you hang 25 in an NBA game, but you miss that last shot at the buzzer, what are people going to remember? That shot at the buzzer, the 25 you had, right? If your team loses. That to me is what happened in this game. And that was a bad rep for Lucas. I need to get back to Darnold real quick though. Do you honestly feel like, and I know it's one game, but this is the opinion that I've had since the beginning. Do you think is he going to lead us to the playoffs? Is he the kind of quarterback you have confidence in getting us to the playoffs with this current iteration, with this team?
I lean so. I still do. I do. I think they got to clean up some work. Um,
I can't hear you.
I actually walk away from this game, frankly, with more questions. I
I can't
expected.
hear
I
you at
actually got
all.
expected to have more questions. What you say?
Oh,
Okay.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Steve O, can you hear Candace?
I don't think he's on anymore. What about now?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
So what I was saying is, and sorry for the tech issues, guys. I'm not sure what's happening today, but it's I think we're having a rough day, like the
Yeah.
Seahawks had seems to be
Yeah.
carrying over. Uh, yeah, because it seems like when I fixed that, I thought I fixed the echo, and it seems like
There's no there's no echo now on my end.
okay. All right, cool. Um, well, when it comes to your question was about Sam Darnold, right? Or
Yeah.
no, I think I was about to say something about Sam Darnold. Yeah, you asked me, is he a playoff?
Is
Is
he
he
gonna
a
lead this
playoff?
team to the playoffs? Do you still believe in him?
I think he can. I think he can. I actually walked away as high as I've been on Kubiak in the scheme. I walked away with more questions, frankly, about Kubiak because I saw Sam Darnold do well when they played the offense that they told us they were going to play. When they played the two times maybe they did under center play action, Darnold looked good. They were able to get things down in those 2 minute drills.
Mm,
They all of a sudden looked like Ryan. A lot of people talk about it, but it did. At times, it looked like Ryan Grubb took over this game, and we started calling these soft screens when you know you don't have your blocking wide receivers in the game, which makes no sense to me because you've got both Jake Bobo and Derek Young out of this game. You got them both out.
mm.
You have to contend for that. And then when you see the screen game is not going well, why did they continue to do that? From my understanding of things, over 50% of their dropbacks were screens.
Yeah.
That's insanity considering it never worked and it looked terrible. It didn't even
Mhm.
look like, oh, that could have, with
Is
some more
that
practice that could go.
so? Two questions though. Like, well, first of all, statement. Now there was one series. I think it was in the fourth quarter where they ran three. It was with the series where they tried to run that lateral with JSN. Where I'm like, what are we doing here? This is not. Any has nothing to do with what this offensive scheme is supposed to be. It was like someone possessed Kubiak's body for 2 seconds and called three weird plays, and then he came back. You saw the next series. I'm sure Coach McDonald was like, "Hey, man, what happened?" Right? Because they came back running the ball again the next series. But I think too, they're throwing screens because the wide receivers couldn't get separation. They're throwing screens because nobody's open, right? And to me, that's a lot of that's on John Schneider for signing Cooper Cup in the first place.
Mhm.
Because Cooper Cup is looks like a
Right.
waste.
Smell that again?
What's
That
that?
that money just keep on burning.
I'm serious.
He keeps throwing
But
that money in the
but
furnace.
this is okay. But this is why I feel like this year is actually a throwaway year in their minds, and they would just never say it. Because you sign a guy who's from the state of Washington, right? Who went to Eastern Washington, is from Yakima, who a lot of the Seahawks fans are going to gravitate towards. Certain Seahawks fans are going to gravitate towards, and he's kind of like bringing the hometown guy home in his twilight. That puts butts in the seats. That kind of signing. But we all knew watching him with the Rams that he wasn't the old Cooper Cup anymore. And we just wanted like 75% of what Cooper Cup used to be. But if he didn't get targets in this game, that means he's not separating. That's clear to me. Because the
Yeah,
Niners weren't like scheming towards him or anything like that. If they scheme towards anyone, it's going to be towards JSN. And Cup
yeah.
couldn't beat one on one, or he couldn't get open against zone. That's bad.
It is bad.
That's not good for the rest of the season.
It is bad, but I don't think that they had this as a throwaway season because the reality is every wide receiver available on the free agent market was washed. Like when it came
So
down to
use a
free
high pick
agency,
on one.
what now?
Use
It
a high
was
pick on
it
one
was
instead of.
not a good. Sorry, maybe I'm the only one that feels this way. Perhaps this wide receiver class will break out and prove me wrong. No one else was
Hey,
really helped.
Don,
They took Torrey Horton. That was probably one of your better takes in my opinion. I just
Dante
don't think.
Dante Thornton with the Raiders is starting, and he's 6'5", like 210, and he looks like a player.
But you need
Luther
an
Burden,
offensive.
who we're going to watch tonight in that Bears game, is a little bit more of a not gadgety, but he takes a lot of short passes and has racks up a lot of yak. But he's a talented dude. There are some good the top receivers that were drafted. Yeah, Ted McMillan. I don't love Ted McMillan, right? There aren't that like can't miss high end receiver like that. But again, Dante Thornton with the Raiders was a fourth round pick, and he ran I think a sub 4.4 and is an athletic specimen, and he's starting, and he looks like a baller on the Raiders, right? I just think that I would have rather even seen them use two mid-round picks on receivers, Horton and someone else. Like you take someone in the fourth, you take someone in the second, and not had thrown 15 or 18 million dollars. I think it was 15 towards Cooper Cup. It's to me it's sad because he he's just not what he was. And if we have one wide receiver that is, for all intents and purposes, like a threat, that's not good for this offense because they're gonna push everybody up front, right? You're gonna be running against 8-man fronts, and this zone scheme isn't going anywhere. It's
Yeah,
just not. I don't know. I don't want to be such a wet blanket or Debbie Downer, but the reality is, to me, the offense was pretty sad
it was.
yesterday.
No, you can't argue with that. The offense was sad. I don't have the same takeaways though that you do on the overall season because one, they did draft a wide receiver. They drafted Torrey Horton and he played. Was he able to get open this game? No,
Round five.
literally nobody was. We'll see how if they end up, if Thornton ends up being a player for the guy, then we can talk about that's a draft missed opportunity, right? We can talk
Mhm.
about that. But I'm not worried about the money. Why? Because they've still got plenty of cap. I mean, yes, I've been making a joke about John throwing away his free agent money, but that's really more to indict because he's just been bad at it for years.
Right.
This is the one example that I can get more than the others because you did lose DK unexpectedly. You didn't have a lot of options to go from. Since you have the cap money to spend anyway, frankly, I think if nothing else, and this literally may be all he provides, is a veteran presence in a very young and very changed over locker room. I think that has immense value for this team still. That's probably the only value we're gonna get out of him. Is that worth $15 million? No. But you were dealt a bad situation where DK asked out, and what are you gonna do about it? In that, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
and if that's the case, then that's just kind of the move you make. I'm not gonna kill him over the Cooper Cup move because I don't see this shining move that makes them a better wide receiver core now than what half retired Amari Cooper. Like I mean he just I don't see his retirement. Like I don't see what the
Devonte
option
Adams.
was. They went now.
Devonte Adams. Devonte Adams.
Did Devontae Adams get
Two
signed first?
years. 2 years, 44 million.
I
Devonte
thought that
Adams.
went.
So they're
I didn't
paying.
think he was available. when
They paid. He went from the Jets to the Rams as a
no, no,
free agent.
no. I when I say was he didn't he get signed by the Rams first before they were looking for Cooper Cup, or was Cooper
He
Cup
might
already
have
signed?
been, but you could have gone with their cap room. They could have gone 25. You think he would have taken 25,
I don't know. I
50
also
over
don't
two
know.
years from the Seahawks instead of 44 over two from the Rams?
I also don't know if you're convinced Devontae Adams to come and play
It's
for
six
Sam
six
Darnold.
million dollars more. I bet you $6 million more does, right?
I don't
Um,
know.
Josh
Depends on
Palmer,
if
who
he
we
wants to
saw
win. He's
ball out
kind
a
of
little bit.
old, man.
What's that?
He's kind of old. If he's
Yeah,
trying to
but
be
he's
on a super.
elite. He's still an elite wide receiver, right?
Yeah,
Um, Josh Palmer, who went from the Chargers to the Bills, who's underrated but looks like he's potentially the number one target for Josh Allen. He looked good last night. That game
yeah,
was wild, by the way.
yeah. It was.
Shoot, give me Keenan Allen. Give me Keenan Allen over Cooper Cup. Keenan Allen still has something left.
That's fair.
You know,
That's a fair
it's
call.
just I look at this list and just I don't know. Give me a young dude. I'm frustrated because you needed the other part is you needed explosiveness on the other side of JSN. JSN is a technician. JSN is someone who works the middle. JSN is someone who, if they have to play safeties deep to account, we talked about this. JSN can catch balls all day long, intermediate and short, right? He can have 15 catches in a game. But when you have no deep threat, as we talked about when they cut MVS, it's that's part of the reason why Cup wasn't open either. They just suffocate you because you have nobody to threaten deep. It's just I don't know. I don't. This is not a playoff team to me. This is not a playoff team to me.
I think they'll have the regular season, and I think frankly they would go out pretty early in the first round. I think they can get a wild card seed. I don't think the NFC is just such a juggernaut
Yeah, but
as
they got
far
to
as
be able
like
to get out their
with
own
their
way.
schedule,
They got to get
with
out
their
their own
schedule,
way first.
with their schedule. I still think it's very possible. I just
Okay,
you're playing the NFC South.
I hope so.
I'm not gonna be shaking in my boots about that.
I ain't
I
gonna
think
hate.
you can.
They're
You're
not
right
beating
up there.
Atlanta. They're not beating
Mm,
Tampa Bay.
I think you can beat Atlanta, but
They got twice the quarterback in Michael Penix, in my opinion.
Michael Penix looked good. He looked good
Yeah,
in his early run.
and Bijan looked good too.
Bijan had a great start to the game.
But he still
Bijan
look
had a
good.
great start,
Hey,
and
Bijan
then
told me up in fantasy, so Bijan looked good. Okay, but okay, so here's the flip side is you say they're a playoff team. If they are a playoff team,
I think they
it's
can
because
be.
this
I
defense
think
is
they,
a top three, top five defense. They looked the part in
yeah,
this game.
they
They
did.
looked like they were suffocating against the run, right? Christian McCaffrey got his little passes and whatnot, but he was never threatening. It was okay, he got a first down as Christian McCaffrey. Okay, Purdy processes the game at an elite level. That was a nice pass. But it was nothing threatening, right? I think that Reek Woolen has to fix some stuff. I almost said a bad word. Nick Reek Woolen needs to fix some stuff because the mental lapses that he had in this game in the fourth quarter are unforgivable. Had he not had those mental lapses, the Seahawks would have won. We'd have been singing a different tune. I still would have said Darnold's trash, right? I still would have said the offensive line needs work. I still would have said Cooper Kupp needs to retire. But this defense is good enough to get this team to the playoffs if we can count on the offensive line being decent.
Yeah,
Ernest Jones, when Ernest Jones, who was it? Was it McCaffrey? He stood no, it was Brian Robinson Jr. He stood him up. There was a hit, I think it was in the third quarter, where Ernest Jones, you're like, man, that's a man right there. That's a dude. That's who you want patrolling the middle of your defense, right? That defensive line was nasty. And they were playing off each other. They were putting pressure all day long. They were stuffing the run. That defensive line is the truth. That's the best defensive line in football for my money. I don't want to hear about the
I think
Giants.
it's the best defensive line in football. I wouldn't say that much, but I do think this is they played very well last game. I think they ultimately, as they grow and as they play more snaps together, I think they'll be elite. I'm with you. The reason why I believe in this team making the playoffs still is because of the defense. How many opportunities? I mean, it took a lot. The defense gave them a lot of opportunities to get back in the game or to secure the game or to take control of the game.
But you're counting
And
on Reek
I
Woolen
had
though, if you say that.
well now
I say you count on Reek Woolen if you say that though, right? if this defense is going to carry us, we're counting on Rick Woolen playing much better than he played yesterday.
I think Rick Woolen played well, but I think you're going to have some plays, man. Which I think, which here's the reality: Woolen is what he is. You're not going to get better than him. Benching him doesn't help you get
I,
better.
I
You
might.
also might have to take the good with the bad. Now, is that why? Are you going to pay Rick Woolen next year? You are not. Rick Woolen is going to walk, or maybe they decide to trade him. But I don't know if
He
that's
was he
going to
was the
be.
sole reason why that defense gave up that drive.
I also think he's the reason why they had such blanket coverage during the game.
And no, I think he was a part of it, right? But my point earlier is I would bench him if I had somebody that could play consistently. You might not have that high of high, right? You might not have that level of athleticism, but you're not going to be doing all kinds of like this in the end zone and have the ball go straight through you in the clutch,
I mean,
right? Like it was.
he also made a play to prevent a touchdown earlier. I just think do I wish Rick Willen would get better? Yes, I do, but I don't think he is at this point. I don't think you pay Rick Willen. I think that's clear. I think he made it obvious that
Yep.
yesterday. That's why you don't pay him. You
Right.
can't afford to pay somebody like that. But can you ride out with him the rest of the year when the rest of the defense around it is good and is really good? And he can give you a lot of good despite those, those 1-2 games might be I mean 1-2 moments might be very costly. I think they're sometimes they really are. But I also think that getting burnt and watching Shaq Griffin get cooked on a consistent basis is not my preference either.
Shaq.
I think you've got a lesser of a, what I'm saying? Like I don't think they have the replacement for Reek Willen, even the floor. Yeah, Josh Jobe had a good game last game. They
Right.
don't have any wide receivers that scare me. When you go against teams with a real wide receiver core, you're I think you're going to see Josh Jobe the same issues you saw from him last year. There's no one else who's replacing Reek Woolen this year that's giving you better than Reek Woolen. Now they need to address that in the draft. In my opinion, it's very clear because you can't keep him. You got to move on.
No.
But for this year, he is what he is. That's why they're not going to win any playoff games. I had optimism that they were going to win. I don't think I think Rick may he might have another moment like he had
Right.
this past week and kill the game. That is infuriating, but I also don't want to see a good elite actually defense go to waste
Right.
because you know
Well, right.
you downgraded so
So
substantially.
if we rewind, I would say that of the concerns that I have coming out of this game, which are many, I would say that for me, like offensive line, wide receiver, quarterback are all higher, more urgent concerns than cornerback two. Right. I think that's for me when I say that I'm frustrated with Reek Woolen and I worry about the rest of the season with him. It's because the rest of the defense is so solid. The rest of the defense is so good. Now, Kobe
Right.
Bryant worries me too a little bit. He flashed a little bit, but he also got burnt in the beginning of the game.
Mhm.
I think you can do better at that position, but you can't have a superstar at every position. The salary cap doesn't allow you to do that.
Right.
Will I ride with Reek Woolen, because of his talent? Yeah, probably. Like I think you have an elite talent at that position, and you just hope you can coach it up, or you hope you get that great game from him. That rational minds would say that's probably the way to go. But no one's throwing at Spoon, right? And
Well,
they did a little bit. They did in this game
Spoon
some.
he got rolled.
No,
Chris McCaffrey took him for a couple rides.
I saw that, but that's going to happen though, right? If you're going against a running back with some power against Spoon, that might happen. What I'm saying is, Spoon's not giving up a bomb. Spoon's not giving up a bunch of 18-yard outs, right? He's not choking in the clutch. And teams are going to pick on Woolen until he can show that he can stand up to that, especially after this game. So any team with two good wide receivers is going to be difficult, right? They're going to go after Woolen over and over again. You're going to see the Rams. You watch the Rams; they're going after Reek Woolen. I
They're going to go
put
after.
money on
It's
that.
not a question. It's not a question of going after Rick Woolen. They're going to go after whoever the cornerback is opposite Witherspoon. That's just the reality. They're
No,
going
but
to
I
go
think even
whoever.
more now.
They might, but I trust that he can hold up at least 75% of the time, whereas the other guys you got behind him might hold up 40% of the time. That's where we are.
Yes. Okay. So I'm not saying replace him with someone that's in house already, right?
Okay.
I don't think you're going to put Job in as the second cornerback and see Job,
Right.
play great.
Right. That's what I
I
mean.
but if you can go find yourself a veteran
Yeah.
that can, that's going to be solid, that might need some safety help over the top sometimes, but is going to be assignment sound and isn't going to do stupid, what stuff. Give me that dude. In this
Okay.
defense, they just need consistency. They need solid play in this defense. They don't need a superstar at cornerback too. They need somebody solid. So that's where I'm coming from with him. That's enough time on him for me. I was so frustrated in that fourth quarter with him. I was screaming
Yeah.
at this television because it was bonehead play after bonehead play. It didn't help that the dude on Blue Sky was like, "Nah, he's been solid. He's been good. What are you talking about?" And then like, bad play after bad play after bad play, and dude just disappeared into the ether. Didn't hear from him again. I was like, okay, you know,
Yeah. I mean,
but it's
because
just
Reek
it's
has his
hard when
role.
you got 10 guys balling out and you got one dude who's not. It's frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I'm not gonna say that he was the only problem on defense. I think there was several other miscommunication issues. I think they let some things go. Now they played a lot of time, so I'm not really tripping about that. Like you said, it's really not about the defense to me. It's
No.
about the offense.
Yep.
There were a few points I didn't really get to touch on in regards to offense just because
Mm.
my echo and everything, but I really kind of wanted to come back to Sam Darnold in particular, because I do feel like he's still an NFL caliber guy. I really do. Now is how good he is. He's got to prove that. I do. I saw flashes. So like, what's crazy about this game was you saw everything that I have been saying in this game in terms of he can be decent enough. He can drive you down the field. He can get the job done. But you also saw in this game all the stuff that you were saying all
Mm-hmm.
preseason, and like your concerns about him, and me feeling like he's got somewhat of a floor. You not feeling like maybe he does, um, or not. We're not caring about that floor, but yeah, I want to talk. I think Sam Darnold will be solid. I was really disappointed in him in that last play. I know we talked about this on social media, but in my opinion, and perhaps I'm just used to seeing quarterbacks who have the ability to move in the pocket well. I'll give
Mm-hmm.
that caveat. But to me, my automatic instinct is step up in the pocket. Like
Right.
you got a ton of room in front of you, and that is the best player on the opposite team's defense. Like that's the best player. Nick Bosa
Sure.
is the number one guy you have got to be aware of if you're a quarterback trying
Right.
to put a 2 minute drive together. I don't know how you lose him then.
Or you didn't
Now
expect
I'll
your
go
right
back and look
tackle
at
to
the
get
play.
your recently extended right tackle to get blown over and be backpedaling onto his butt and hit you, right? Like,
Look, Abe Lucas gave up two pressures, and when the game's on the line, man, you're the quarterback.
hey,
That all,
hey, so
yeah,
like I said before, if you can't play in the clutch, it don't matter what else you did. He got
I don't agree with that.
he got cooked.
I
You
don't
couldn't
agree
get
with that.
more cooked than that as a right tackle in that
I I don't
situation.
agree. I don't agree that you're the lump sum of two plays. I'm
Yes.
never gonna philosophically. Now, when you're talking about superstars, when you're talking about like the guys that get the attention, we're talking about your star players, then absolutely that is a standard that they are held to.
Mhm.
When you're talking about above average to average players, that is not the standard that you're
But
holding them up to,
that wasn't like he put.
particularly
But it
when they
wasn't
are
like
matched up against a superstar, when they're
he didn't
matched up
like
against a defensive player.
he just overpowered him though.
That's because it's Nick Bosa.
No, no, it's not.
It's because it's Nick Bosa.
Nick Bosa is good. Nick Bosa is
Nick,
not the most powerful D end in football.
Nick Bosa is a defensive player of the year.
I get that.
Okay,
But it was
he's
in the
a
clutch, and
superstar.
okay,
He's the
it's one
guy
thing to
that's
get beat.
paid.
It's one thing to get pushed straight back into your quarterback. It's different. Those are two different things to me.
It's Nick Bosa,
It
and
was
if you held up against him all game,
he
yeah,
wasn't on
he
that.
got beat on that.
He wasn't on that side all game.
He gave Abe Lucas gave up two
I'd
pressures
love
all
to
game.
see the numbers as to what side Nick Bosa lined up on over the course of the game. I don't remember him being on that side all game. If
And
I'm the
he took
Niners,
two pressures, and I
if
don't
I'm
think
the Niners, I'm saving him for the fourth quarter, and I'm saying you're going against Abe Lucas in the fourth quarter. Have fun. I just don't think Abe Lucas is
he
that
only had
good.
two pressures that day.
But there, what? Who's playing on the other end?
Who is playing on the other end? I don't know.
Exactly.
Charles
No
Cross
name
had a
McGee. It
fantastic
was
game
no
according
name
to
McGee
me.
on the other end.
But so
He about to cuss
Charles
me
Cross
out.
had
I
an
can see
excellent
it.
game according to PFF. Like I think he was like one of the highest rated offensive players. I
Uh,
don't think he was the one matching up with Nick Bosa all game. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong,
okay.
but and I'm sure it switched around in both. But that wasn't Abe Lucas's first time seeing Nick Bosa. It just wasn't.
No,
It
but it
wasn't.
was.
Some
But it.
reps you win, some reps you lose, and
You have.
superstars make superstars moves. That's
Okay, but I'm
how the
saying.
game goes.
I'm
Seahawks
saying.
need more
I think
superstars.
there's shared responsibility with on both players. I think Darnold could have had better pocket awareness. I think you have to account for Nick Bosa, as you said. I also would not expect my right tackle to get run over like he did. That's me.
I
I would expect to have a little more time, like a little more time, than just the dude landing on his butt and kicking the ball out. Basically, it was
and he
just.
didn't land on his butt, but he got walked back.
Hold
Certified
on,
walk back.
let me find the. I'll find the clip and we can play it on a share screen. It just.
Do that.
I don't know. It was
I went
upsetting.
back and watched the play. You're right. So he does. I mean, he gets walked back more than I
Mhm.
initially gave it credit when I watched the replay, especially like I'm like, yeah, that's completely on Darnold. When I went back
Mhm.
and watched the whole thing, like not just the slow motion, then I'm like, okay, yeah, he got walked back. So I'm willing to give Abe Lucas a little bit more of that than I was on initial sight, especially
Right.
initially seeing that slow mo. But I also
Well, that's the
put a
wrong
fair
play.
amount on Sam Darnold. Like you gotta know, you
Yes.
gotta
No.
know.
I. No doubt that. No doubt that Darnold shares a tremendous amount of responsibility for this. No doubt.
Yeah. Now I'll give Abe more than I thought. When I watched that slow mo at first, I'm like, you got to step in the pocket, guy. Like you got like it happened a little faster than I gave it credit for initially.
Right.
But it is on both of them.
It's
But
just, it was just disappointing for me. I think more than anything.
I think the whole
I
game was.
yes, but that
I don't think it should have came down to that. In fact, one to get your take. It's been a popular thing. One thing we haven't talked about is the
yeah,
coaching as much. I
yeah,
talked a little bit about Kubiak, but I didn't really get the chance to elaborate. But
yeah,
also Mike McDonald's decision to take the points
yeah.
on fourth and inches. He talked about it a little bit. I heard the Mike McDonald show earlier, and
Mhm.
he says it was more than a yard. That's not what that's not what most people universally say. I mean, who
Sure.
am I to argue with Mike McDonald? But
Right.
that looked like fourth and inches to me. Uh,
What would you have done? Would you have gone?
so I would have gone for it. I think ultimately I would have gone for it. Now, I don't kill him for the decision
Right.
as much as a lot of people do. Like I see people just murdering Mike McDonald. I understand the logic behind you don't know if your offense is going to be able to execute. They've been struggling all game. But I also get the arguments about you sold us an identity.
Mm-hmm.
You sold us you're going to be aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
You sold us you're going to be physical. And you and you showed us already that you have a tush push with AJ Barner of all
Right.
players. Like
Right.
you've got that in your bag.
Right.
You got Jalen Milrow, who was ran out at the absolute wrong time, by the way.
Play number
Had
three.
that
Play
the what?
play number three.
Play number like I just can't imagine worse timing than that.
Right.
But I mean, other than play one, I guess.
Right.
Um, but I just think you've got enough personnel. You've got Robbie Oops, the fullback, who you haven't used all game, so he's fresh. Like
Right.
I think I can 100%. I think in the moment I probably would have taken the points.
Right.
Well, no, I would have gone for it.
You
I was
know.
going back and forth in the moment. Initially I was like, take the points, and then I thought about it, and I'm like, dude, run the clock. And I
Yeah,
think my final decision was let's go for it. But it was a tough call, in my opinion, more than people. In my opinion, it was a tough call. A lot of people
here,
feel like it was
so
obvious.
here's my take. When when people misconstrue aggression for offensive aggressive offensive play calls, right? Aggression does not mean that you're going to go for it on fourth down. Aggression can mean it doesn't have to, right? Aggression, as far as football coaching goes, he could be referring to the defense and that he's going to blitz more or that he's going to play more aggressive coverages or any number of things offensively. Aggression can mean all sorts of different things. I don't think it necessarily means that you're going to go for it on fourth and one. What I will say also is Mike McDonald is incredibly conservative by nature. He's a conservative. Yes.
No, he's
Yes.
not.
He is. He is. They talked about on the broadcast how, he has exotic blitzes and exotic fronts for his defense, but the reality is he gives up a ton of yards and they bow up in the red zone,
Well,
right?
in terms of fourth down decisions last year, he went for it a ton.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that he's necessarily aggressive, right? He might have been just playing the numbers. I'm saying by nature, watching him as an assistant, listening to him talk, thinking about the types of play calls that they're making this year, the type of offense he wanted to have this year. That is a conservative coaching style. Running the ball, running play action, running the ball, and having a dominant defense is a very conservative mindset for a football coach. What I'm saying is, I don't think he is that way by nature. I think he is conservative by nature. And that showed in this decision because he took the points and he moved on and he trusted his defense to play good defense. I like the decision. That's what I would have done. I think people get too caught up in going for it on fourth down and caught up in the numbers. I love numbers, right? Especially from the baseball perspective. I'm all about the numbers. I think in that situation, I would have done the same thing because what's the best part of my team? What's the part of my team that I think is elite? What's the part of the team that I know most intimately? It's my defense. And so in that moment, he's trusting his defense to not give up points by taking the field goal, right? I would have done that. I would have done the same thing myself, and I understand why he did it as well.
I understand why he did it because I initially I was with you, but then you think about the clock, and that's really what it came down to for me. Also, if you don't convert, they still got to drive down the field anyway.
Right.
Um, and so you're still your defense. I do find that if you are a coach who is going to ask your players to be aggressive and to put it on the line and to be physical, and you're not willing to, I think eventually that leads to problems.
But
Long
he
term,
may
I'm
not
not
have
saying.
believed.
I mean, this is one game, I actually I'm with you in the sense that I'm not killing him for that decision, but I do think if we see him start going conservative, because that's not what he showed us last year from the standpoint of clock management, from the standpoint
Sure.
of when he had the opportunity to go forward, he backed his players. I think if there's a disconnect between what your words are saying and what you're asking your players to do and what you are willing to do, I think that's problematic, personally.
Yes, but I also think we need to allow. I agree with that, and I think we need to allow for contextual clues, contextual information to allow him to make different decisions in the moment, right? He might want to be aggressive on fourth down. He may want to, push this team. He may want to be more physical, as we've talked about, and have that be the identity. But he may have watched this game and said to himself, we're averaging 3.2 yards a carry. And if they know we're going to run the ball, I don't trust that any one of my linemen or any one of my running plays is going to get me the necessary yardage in this situation. So I'm going to take the points, right? I think he can believe something for the long term for this team and still make a different decision week one against this Niners team when you couldn't run the ball. You would like to try to establish a mindset and establish a philosophy and establish a toughness and just say, you know what, we need to be able to go out and get that yard. Jim Harbaugh is that way, right? Jim Harbaugh is like, we're just going to do it because this is what we believe in and we're going to will ourselves to do it. I don't
Right.
think Coach McDonald thought that they could do that in that situation. I also think, again, the more motivating factor is I believe in my elite defense and I don't believe my defense is going to give up the lead.
Yeah, I not like I said, I'm not gonna kill the decision. I think that's obviously what he came to the conclusion of because on the morning show he talked about how the analytics said that it's a situation that they would normally go for it. And it's something that he does take into account. I know he does take into account analytics. I think you're right. He didn't believe in offense. Um, I also get why people are disappointed in the disconnection between who you said you were going to be and who you showed us you wanted to be when it counted the most. I think people
Right.
would say they're disappointed in the coach from that perspective, just of not reinforcing it in that moment. Um, and yeah, and just saying
It it would have
we got
been
enough tricks in our bag that
right.
we can do it.
Right. It would have been nice to walk away from that play. First of all, I think that would have been a huge game turning play if they would have gotten that first down.
Correct.
But it would have been really great for them to get that first down, right? And establish this mentality of like, we
Right.
are going to run the ball. We are going to do what we said we're going to do. I
Exactly.
agree. And in theory, you would be able to bring Milrow in and create a bunch of, options that the defense has to defend and be able to get that yard. And I think in time they will. I just don't think they've gelled to that point yet. I also would love to see, you've got Arroyo, who's a athletic tight end. You have JSN, who, if you need a catch for even a couple of yards, you can pretty much count on him to get open enough, right? You can run some play action and really, try to screw the defense up at times. I think there were options. I do. I just think, like I said, I think he is very conservative by nature, and I think he took the points and wanted to believe in his defense. And Reek just stuck his head in the microwave for 15 minutes. You know what I mean? And they ended up giving up a touchdown. But I don't know. I don't knock him for it. I think fans get caught up in the the Shanahan, LaFleur, McVay, those guys, and they're the flash and dash, Andy Reid even. And I'm naming a bunch of great coaches, but it's that aggressive mentality that a lot of fans love. And that's like the going thing, right? Even Dan Campbell, that's the going thing. That's what everybody wants to see. I don't know that sometimes you have to zag when everybody is zigging in order to win. Um, I liked it. It's the type of football that I like. So I appreciated that he made that call. Did it end up being the right one? No, because your defense gave up a game-winning touchdown.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll say this, and I'll end it. I'll end it because otherwise, I agree with you. I'm not killing them. But if your point that he really is a conservative coach ends up proving to be true, I will be far more concerned about his ability to survive as a head coach, defensive head coach, because we already know he struggles with the offense. We know he is a great mind, but he's struggled to connect with people, particularly on the offense.
Sure.
If you add to that we have this pattern of also not believing in your part. I just think I think that causes bigger problems down the line. So it's something to watch. I'm not saying that he is or he isn't, but if what you're saying is true
Right.
and he ends up being a conservative type of coach,
Right.
I think that bites him in the butt and ultimately ends up having him lose his job in the end.
Right. Well, it's
I think
okay. Let me ask you
if you're
this.
going to be a defensive coach in the modern NFL, in my opinion, today,
Right.
you've got to be aggressive in those situations
Right.
because that's what offensive coaches would do, and those are considered the better head coaches in this league. You've got to be
Right.
able to compensate with that.
Right now. And I think we had talked about when he got hired that things were starting to shift in a different direction or potentially could shift in a different direction. They were trying to go in a different direction. Let me ask you this. If this team had Geno Smith and DK Metcalf and no, was it Eamon Wari or Arroyo that ended up being the pick that they got from the Steelers? One of those two. Pick them. I don't care which one. They had one
Third
second
rounder
round
was
pick.
Arroyo.
So they had one second round pick instead of two.
No,
You had Geno Smith, you had DK Metcalf, and you installed the same offense that Clint Kubiak is installing.
wait, didn't they trade? I think you're right. I think it's Emory. They traded up, didn't they not? They traded up
Yes.
to get Emory.
Yes.
I
So
think you're right.
I think they got a pick and then they included a three or something like that
Yeah,
to move
you're
up
right.
to get Eamon Wari.
Yeah,
But if it was Geno and DK in a more conservative offense that was focused on running the ball, would how would you feel about this team? How would you feel about Coach McDonald? Where would you think this team was going moving forward?
I think they'd be far more talented, and I think we have less concerns, frankly, about the offense. I
Right.
believe in Geno quite a bit. I also I also think there'll be a clear ceiling on this team, and I don't know how much of a future you'd have paying DK Metcalf $34 million. Um, I also don't know how much. I think you'd have a lot of drama. Also,
Would you rather have drama and a better team, or a lesser team, a quarterback that's not taking you anywhere, and like a really low ceiling?
I
Because
think
that's what
chemistry
this
matters.
is.
I think chemistry matters. If I had to choose, I think that's the kind of stuff that's the difference between teams that are frisky and hang around and
Who's
teams that ultimately get over the hump.
who's responsible for chemistry?
That's the players, really.
The coach.
The coach and the players, but you got to
The
have players
coach.
buy in. You
Why
got to
was why
have
was
players buy in
Pittsburgh? Why did Pittsburgh welcome in DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers for that
because
matter?
they're paying $34 million.
No, they welcomed him in because they trusted Mike Tomlin to control the culture of that team. They had Antonio Brown, and we didn't hear a ton about Antonio Brown being crazy until Antonio Brown left. They had Plaxico Burress. Same thing. We knew he was nuts, but he was like a good nuts because he was out there balling out.
Now
Plaxico
explain
Burress, the same thing. What I'm
explain
saying
George
is,
Pickens then. Explain
what's
George
that?
Pickens. George Pickens was not contained.
And they
Correct.
got rid of him, and he still was good, really good last year. He was an asset last year. What I'm saying is, a great coach, an elite coach, takes the talent and is able to coach them and create a culture that allows that talent to shine and that player to not blow up the team culture. I fault the front office and Mike McDonald to a certain extent in losing more talented players. You lost DK Metcalf, whatever the cost is, you lost DK Metcalf and Geno Smith, and you replaced them with Sam Darnold and Cooper Kupp. And that showed up in game one, big time. The lack of talent, the lack of what's the word, personality, right? It showed up, and I think that's a large reason why we lost. I'm disappointed in John Schneider and Coach McDonald in that way because I think we lost better players at those positions.
I don't think they anticipated losing those players. I
No,
just think I mean, do I add it when I say that I'm disappointed that we lost those players, especially Gino? Yes.
yes,
Especially Gino. I think
yes,
we were talking about trading DK potentially
yes,
anyway.
yes.
So, but Gino I wanted. And I
Well,
wanted him to stay. But also I think it's a little different when you're comparing Mike Tomlinson and his ability to work with these wide receivers. It's been guys Mike Tomlin like that were drafted under Mike Tomlin. Like Mike Tomlin's been there for years. So to compare a guy who's transitioning from a new
he was
regime,
also that way the minute he took the job. The minute he took the job, Mike Tomlin was a transcendent personality, and he led them to a Super Bowl. Right?
to
It's so getting back to Gino though. I think with Gino, if they would have treated Gino differently over the last couple of years, Gino would have stayed. I get that Gino's connected to Pete Carroll. I get that he wanted to go there, but you gave him reason to want to leave by the
yeah,
way you
no,
treated him.
I
Whether it's
agree.
Ryan Grubb or not paying him or whatever the case may be, you gave him reason to leave. The more I look at what this team is in this moment, now they're building towards something, and that's great. And I do love this defense. But this offense was so incredibly disappointing to me. And it's because there's just a lack of talent. There's a lack of talent.
There is.
And that's not to say that, Charbonnet is a 1,200-yard back, I think, in this offense if you give him enough carries. And this offensive line, I think, can be something. I think if we can get them to average or slightly above average this year, that's a huge win. I still think Gray Zabel looks very, very good. But we don't know that Arroyo is going to be a legit tight end yet. We know he has athleticism, but we haven't really seen it flash,
They didn't get
right?
enough targets.
What's
They were
that?
too busy running screen passes to even get the tight ends the ball, man.
But it's
That catch was a great
yes,
catch by Arroyo.
yes,
I was pretty impressed, honestly. I
yes.
was.
But we have a bad quarterback. We have a washed up wide receiver two. We've got a wide receiver one who doesn't have elite athletic traits, right? Who I don't think is a superstar. I think he's very, very good. I don't think he's a superstar. And we're hoping that Torrey Horton, a fifth round pick with some injury concerns, is going to be very good. That's that's not a lot to count on, right? That's a dearth of talent. And to
I mean,
me, that's a mistake by the front office in not having talent at those positions.
I get why you say that, but I also think things happen that are somewhat beyond your control. Like, can we argue? Or there's some things I think you were always going to lose some players that Pete had because those were Pete's guys. You're always going to have some level of attrition when you're transitioning over regimes, particularly when the regime was Pete Carroll and how elite he is at building those relationships. I feel like there's a unique
Sure.
set of circumstances that involve losing those players that I'm sure there could have been something, particularly with Gino. I just think he wanted more guaranteed money, and I think he wanted more long term security from a
Sure.
financial
I,
perspective. John's
I'd have
willingness
given it
to,
to.
yeah,
I'd have given it
John,
to him.
John's willingness to, unwillingness rather, to not be conservative in that manner.
Right.
I think is a big part of the reason why you lost Gino in particular.
Right.
I also would say this: they've got when it comes to okay, so last year, I'll put it this way: last year, our biggest concern was how atrocious the offensive line looked,
Yes.
and that came to fruition pretty quickly. There was nothing you could do about that midseason. No one is
Sure.
giving you a good offensive lineman in the middle of the year.
Sure.
Do I think there are opportunities to improve the issues they have this year? I do. I think you've got more options to, if you're not seeing the improvement you want, to make some upgrades. You can't do anything about quarterback right now. That is what it is. But I would say the bigger problem was the wide receivers. If I had to rank the issue outside of JSN, if I had to rank the issues, I would say the ability for the receivers to get open was probably top notch. I also think the offense overall looks better if you got some wide receivers that can get open. Like,
Sure.
I think that makes a big. I think Sam Darnold looks better if he's got
Okay.
wide receivers that can get
Well,
open.
yeah,
So
he had Justin Jefferson and he looked great, right? I think so. Here's my point. This is what I was saying earlier. I look at their draft. I think they could have done so much more at running back, or excuse me, at wide receiver and on the offensive line because you spent the number 35 pick overall on a safety when the safety room looks serviceable. Safety room's not great, and I love Eamon Wari, right? I think Eamon Wari's a dog. But was that the right position to draft that high when you had such concerns on the offense, right? They drafted Arroyo with the 18th pick in the second round, who was coming off a pretty bad injury at Miami and is a developmental tight end with traits. What that says to me, a developmental tight end with traits, is you're probably not getting anything from him year one. You're not getting much. And you need to and you're gambling, right? That's a roll of the dice in some ways because he didn't really produce in Miami. And as much as I like Milrow, you spent a three on a quarterback who you're not convinced is going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, right? And so, do I like those players individually? Sure. Would I have rather seen the 35th pick in the draft be a wide receiver, a Luther Burden, right? Somebody like that? 100%. One of the dudes in Houston, yeah, like there were some good second round wide receivers that I think would have provided that wide receiver room with some serious juice that they're lacking. If you wanted a tight end, you could have also you could have spent some of the money you spent on Cup on other positions too. I think that their distribution of resources has led to a horrible wide receiver room, a tight end room that can block but might not be a threat, and a quarterback who is we're lucky if he's average at the end of the year. And we're still lacking a guard, right? We're still lacking a real right guard in this offense as well. And some could argue a real right tackle. So I don't know. I think that there's a lot of work to be done. Um, Again, I'm sorry to be so down, but this game was really upsetting to me as a Hawks fan.
okay, I think most people walk away feeling that sentiment, and I do want to talk about some positives before
Sure.
we get out of here. But
Sure.
to your point, I defend some of it. The part about the Milrow pick that upset me most was that there were other positions that I would have liked to address,
Right.
and I felt like the quarterback class next year was better. Now that may
Right.
not be true. We'll see. We'll see. It may not be the quarterback class we thought it was going to be, but uh, I think there were some opportunities. I still feel like they were fine with Noah Fant. Maybe it's just me. I know people didn't like Noah Fant, but Noah Fant got a touchdown yesterday. I mean, did our tight ends get
Hey,
a
was it
touchdown
was it
yesterday?
was it Sam Darnold throwing it to him, or was it Joe Burrow throwing it to him?
Yeah, it was Joe Burrow throwing it to him, but I also think I also think Noah Fant would have been able to get more open than anybody else who was on that field. Also, just because
Yeah, but
when you
he's
got some
not making the
experience,
difference between whether this team's going to win or lose, though.
I
The
think it's a
quarterback
difference
would.
between whether you got a functional offense or not, and I think
Not no
that's
not
what
Noah
really
Fant.
matters.
Not Noah Fant.
I think it's the difference between I think they when you have a dearth of talent, any experienced talent helps to raise that floor.
No, I think you just need talent. I don't think it needs to be experience. You just need talent.
I think you need some experience because I believe in the talent of a
That's
Royal.
why they signed Cooper Cup, though. Cooper Cup is that experience, right? But if you can't
Yeah, but
separate,
I'm talking about the tight end room
I know. But
specifically
if
for
you can't
Buffalo.
separate, you can't separate. I don't think the tight end is unless it's Brock Bowers or Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland or Trey McBride. Tight end's not going to be the separator for me. For me, the
No, the whole
separator is
point
going
is
to
the
be
offense.
it's going to be a right guard. It's going to be a very good wide receiver to elite wide receiver, and it's going to be quarterback play that brings you something other than milk toast,
This whole
other than
offense
some.
we were told is based heavily on the tight end stuff. So
But
in a
Fant's not
different
a.
offense, I would agree with you.
I'm just saying,
But
Fant's not an upgrade.
in
Not an
this
upgrade.
offense, when you just need somebody to get some separation, I think he makes some catches when nobody else does. I think he gets open a couple times when nobody else does.
That's
It's
why. But that's why they picked a Royal, right?
but
In
he can get
theory.
open.
In theory, that's why they picked a Royal. In
I mean,
theory,
that's the theory, but also then we go back to the experience and his health is a major question as well. We'll see how that goes for him
right?
this year. But
All right.
yeah, I think in terms of talent, if we're going to talk about this team needing talent, I think we could, and we're going to evaluate their choices to get rid of talent. I don't think it's fair to nitpick getting rid of Gino and DK or letting them walk or trading them or however that like transpired. They're not on the team anymore, and then also like when we didn't see a lot of production from the tight ends they have, not also evaluate since they didn't use the money on anybody else anyway. Could having in a tight end heavy position, could having just
I
another
I
player
just
like
don't.
that make sense?
I don't see Fant in the same way. That's all. I don't see Noah Fant remotely close to the way you do. And we can disagree on the talent evaluation portion of it. I just don't think he brought anything. He didn't bring anything that was worth it to them, right? It's
We'll see if they were
he didn't.
wrong.
He never had over 500 yards as a Seahawk.
As a Seahawk,
He
but we also know Seahawks had a lot of issues on offense that were beyond just Noah
sure,
Fant.
sure, but he also didn't threaten, right? He didn't threaten in the way he was supposed to when he was drafted as a first round tight end. And I think
We'll do that.
they believe that Arroyo can be that threatening tight end, and I think they believe in Barner's catching ability, which I do too. I don't know. I don't. Fant's not the answer to me. That's all I'm
I
saying.
think you
Fant's
need
not the answer.
speed.
The
I
answer
think
is
you're.
the answer is a wide receiver and
I
a
think this
guard.
team needs speed, and I don't think they have it. So
Arroyo does.
on paper,
He's gonna take some
we'll
time
see
though.
if that speed equals separation. I mean, he did
Yes.
have a really good catch. I think he's gonna have great hands. We'll see when it comes down to separation what that looks like. But in a tight end heavy offense, I do think it made more sense not to bet on youth as much at what is, according to this offense, one of the most important positions outside of the offensive line, and really I would even say quarterback with the way they use the personnel. Um,
Right.
so okay, I did say I want to talk about some positives. JSN, I thought
After an
outside of
hour.
that tremendous fumble, what now?
I said after an hour.
After an hour, I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard not to. It's hard. I mean, man, if you're gonna walk away from this game and the first thing you're gonna do is talk about the positives, I just think people cut off this podcast immediately. Like no one wants to hear that. No one is interested in hearing
I
the
agree.
positives up front. That's just we're all trying to vent
Yeah.
and we're all trying to process this thing. All right.
Yes.
No
Yes.
one
Good
wants to
word.
hear like fluffy fluff,
Good
like
word. Mm-hmm.
sugarcoating stuff. Nobody wants that. So
Right.
the reality is the offense was about an hour's worth of being bad, at least. How bad that offense was, they deserved about an hour of criticism
Yes.
before we
Yes.
get to the positives.
But yeah, so JSN nine receptions, 124 yards, averaged 13.8 per reception on 13 targets. He produced,
He did.
right? There was not a whole lot you can say negatively about JSN in this game.
Other than the fumble was huge.
Yes,
We also
yes,
understand that when literally no one else gets open, it does make it tough on a guy.
right. I do think he's going to start to see a lot more double teams moving
Hmm.
forward.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what they scheme up or what they do.
Hmm.
Do you start to see Cup get more targets? Do you start to see Horton more involved, right? Is Arroyo going to be a bigger portion of this? Because they're going to need to do something. Because any team playing the Seahawks is going to roll their safety that way. It's just going to happen. I promise you. Um,
Yep.
but he's a player, man. He's like I said, I think he's a low end number one. He's an elite number two. I don't think he's a superstar in this league. But would I have loved to see him and Metcalf on the same team still? Yeah. But I think he is a core piece of this team. They're going to want to sign him to an extension. It's going to be a deserved extension. I don't think he's done anything to negate his value where they drafted him. He's not done anything wrong, in my opinion, since he's arrived. And this is a Michigan dude talking about an Ohio State dude, right? That's how good JSN has been as a Seahawk.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think he's risen to the occasion. I am curious to see how he handles those double teams. He can get knocked off his route a little bit just because of his thin frame. I think that happened a couple times in the
Right.
last game. If he responds to those positively, I would dare say he is a star. Now, pending his ability to counter that, I would say maybe he's not a superstar, but he's a star. I'll
Right.
give him that. Um, Other good things, I still feel like the offensive line performance was overall really positive. Like I walk away feeling encouraged by the fact that they are a super young team overall, with the exception of Anthony Bradford, I guess, and Charles Cross. Overall, pretty inexperienced in terms of snaps. Even Abe Lucas is up there in years, but in snap count, not
Mm-hmm.
so much. Um, so I think they've still got some gelling to do. For sure, Jalen Sundell seemed to struggle. PFF was not high on his
Mm-hmm.
performance, but he's also very new to the center position. Um, and so you account for that.
Well, and the Niners have some great athletes on the defensive line. They're not necessarily the names that we remember, right? A lot of those names have left,
Yeah,
but they drafted a ton of incredibly athletic, like beasts, including Michael Williams out of Alabama.
yeah,
And that's not easy to contend with, especially if you're an undersized center like
yeah,
Sundell.
right.
I think you're right. I wanted to see more because they showed so much in the preseason with the running game. I think part of that is the play calling. Had they just stuck with the outside zone, I think
They
we would have
didn't play a
seen
lot
better
outside.
results.
They actually did
Was
not play
that?
outside zone. They did
No,
not play. They were ranked 19th in the league in outside zone based on week
but
one.
that's what I'm saying. Like, let's just, if this is what your offense is predicated on, you're going to have to run it over and over and over again.
Right,
How are you going to learn if you're not out there running it over and over and over again? That's just how it
right.
works, right? And
Yeah,
it's the type of offense too, where that time when you do have a crease and you got the right running back out there, the one cut type of running back that sees the crease and goes like a Charbonnet, you might bust a 35-yard run, right? That's what this offense is supposed to do.
mhm,
And then you run your play action off of that outside zone. And that's what you signed Darnold to do. I think your point in the beginning is probably the most poignant of any in this entire podcast, which is they didn't do what they said they were going to do.
no,
If you signed a quarterback that is a specific type of quarterback and you went away from those types of plays, if you were brought in to be an outside zone team and you got rid of some of your linemen like a Laumea because they didn't fit the scheme, you spent your first round pick on a guard. Now he played well, but you spent your first round pick on a guard that fit the scheme. Your center, you're starting because he fits the scheme, and then you don't run the scheme. What do you expect to happen?
yeah.
I think that point that you made was again the most poignant one of the entire pod. And
It's my overall takeaway, and I didn't get the chance. I had an echo, so I didn't get the chance
yeah,
to really get into it like I wanted. But my takeaway was, being 19th ranked in outside zone. No, at times Sam Darnold did look uncomfortable in shotgun because he didn't run that
right,
all off
right.
season. I
You
think
need to be number one in outside zone or in
right,
the top five in outside zone.
right, because that's what
That's
your
why you were
ceiling is going
hired.
to be. And we've
Right.
talked a lot about we've given them credit, maybe prematurely, for buying into this identity. They
Right.
personnel, everything lined up. And then you get out there on the field. My suspicion is that Clint Kubiak overthought it. And he said, they know what I run.
Right.
They know, you know, how I might move. So I'm gonna throw them off and take a different approach. That's
Right.
my hope. That's the most
Right.
optimistic take on the
Well,
season.
I
But
think
I
it's
think that's
interesting
possible.
too that you know the criticism of Ryan Grubb last year was that he just would get it in the, he didn't have play calling experience, and he would get out there, and the bullets start flying. And he just wants to pass the ball all the time.
Yeah,
And I think part of the selling point with Kubiak is, well, he's an experienced play caller that will come in and stick to his guns and run his stuff.
yes,
And week one, he didn't run his stuff. I'm
no,
like, man, what? Now I do think that Coach McDonald will sit down with him this week and say, look, man, you're doing the same BS that to a certain extent that Ryan Grubb did. If you're gonna, we need to run the ball. We brought you in to run the ball, and we didn't run the ball.
well,
Whether
they
it's the
did run the ball.
3.2 yards of carry or the fact that we didn't run enough outside zone, that's what we're gonna do from now on.
I think it's a type of running that is the thing. They had the second highest rate of early down run passing.
Yeah.
Of run attempts. So they ran the ball, but I think they went away from the type. And
Yes.
frankly, we saw Charbonnet really roll and get a touchdown, and then we didn't see him for like a quarter.
Because they're trying to work in canine because it's canine, not because it's the right choice,
Yeah,
but because it's canine. And that's why I said the fit is bad, right? Now, if we're gonna go three wides and do some stuff on third down or third medium, third and long, and you want to bring canine out there as an explosive back out of the backfield, or you want to run, some other kind of stuff with him, okay. But let me see him get 8 carries and let me see Charbonnet get 16 and then see what we do,
yeah,
right? Run some different stuff with canine when it's appropriate. If you're going to go shotgun in third and long, run a little draw play to canine and let him pick up 15 yards on a draw play, right? Get him out in space with the screen pass or a swing pass where he can maneuver. But don't give him 10 carries and give Charbonnet 12 because Canine is supposed to be the starter. That's what I was afraid of. That's why, and to me, the fit was pretty clear. You know, the talent, again, I think Canine's a more talented player. And I think they know that. And so they felt like they needed to give him a certain amount of touches. That that ain't gonna work. And I think we will see Charbonnet get more carries moving forward.
which is good. They'll need to do that because I don't even feel like they did a good job of mixing them. Frankly, like I think there was a way you could have tried to do the two running back approach, and they didn't even do that one right. It's
Mm-mm.
not running one quarterback for one quarter and then another quarter running back for another quarter. Like it's not
Right.
how you keep both of them in a rhythm. Like
Right.
you
And if
two
you're
here, one here, two there, one there. Like
right,
you can mix that up much better than I think that they did. Even if you're gonna try to give K9 his touches, it doesn't
right,
have to be to the exclusion of Charbonnet
right.
and vice versa.
Well, and the also the as a defender, if you're they're so different in terms of running style and power, right? If you're gearing up for one and then you're like, all right, like we know Charbonnet's gonna try to run me over. I'm about to bow up. Let's go. And then the next run is Canine coming at you. You shake and bake, right? With speed. That's difficult to defend, right? That wears on you over the course of the game. Or you had teams that would do that and then they would lean on the power game at the end of the game. You might save Charbonnet for the fourth quarter, that sort of thing. But we didn't even really see that. We saw a lot of like, okay, your turn, my turn, which is, the NBA comp is when you have two stars and they just go back and forth, like the Clippers is okay, it's Harden's turn, then it's Kawhi's turn, then it's Harden's turn. You're not taking advantage of the fact you have both.
Right.
And I think you're right. That's a lot of what we saw from this Seattle running game in week one. They got a lot of work to do. They got a lot of work to do. I don't know. My overall kind of walking into week two, I think the defense I'm super confident in. And I know I ripped Reek, but Reek is talented. I think you're right. He is the best option that they have. I think Job looks incredible right now as the third corner. The safeties played well. Ernest Jones is a beast. The D line, like I said, to me, it's the best D line in football because I'm seeing the talent rise. Right, we're seeing Murphy get more penetration. We saw what I always call him Dexter Lawrence. Demarcus Lawrence is in that running game. Right, that dude is nasty in the running game. We saw Mafe and Hall get penetration. What are you about to say?
Yeah, I was going to shout out Derek Hall. Actually, I think he put Trent Williams in a torture chamber. It looked
Yes.
like he Trent Williams struggled.
Right. No, he's a Hall of Famer. Trent Williams, a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, but and I know he's aging,
Hmm.
but Derek Hall showed out against him. That man struggled.
His athleticism is different. Derek
He
Hall
rushed
is.
the back. Yeah, you.
But this defense is, if we are going to be a playoff team, like I hope, like you think, it's this defense,
Mhm.
and it's getting back to the roots and running the ball. I think we can agree that Darnold is at best average
Mhm.
with this team.
Yep.
I think we can agree that these wide receivers are boo boo, and they need to. So they have to. They have to be able to run the ball. The offensive line is going to have to open holes, and they're going to have to run the ball. And they're going to have to stick to their scheme and control the clock. And because we know the defense is going to show out, I got one stat for you that is supports what was going on with the play calling, with the offensive line, all the things we're talking about.
Mhm.
The Seahawks had the ball for 22 minutes and 2 seconds in this game.
Yep.
The 49ers had the ball for 37 minutes and 58 seconds. A team that's trying to control the ball, not turn the ball over, be able to run the ball at will, and play good defense cannot have the ball for 22 minutes.
Yep.
That number demonstrates, I think, more than anything, the ineptness of this offensive line. Now, I know you think the offensive line played better, of this offense as a whole. I will say, play calling included.
Mhm.
22 minutes versus 38 minutes.
Yep.
You're not winning with now. If you're like a run and shoot type offense that's chucking the ball all over the place and incompletions and stopping the clock and all that, fine, right? I get that it's going to be imbalance, not to that extent. But for a team that wants to run the ball, play great defense, control the ball, it should be the other way around. The other way around is the recipe to Seahawks success.
Yeah.
That number to me, I was shocked when I saw that number.
Yeah. And I know we'll do a preview here in a minute, but one thing I'm interested in, and I'm not pinning all my hopes in on this, but I do think it played somewhat of a factor as to how bad things were when it comes to the wide receivers.
Mm,
We were missing two of them. Now I know Jake Bobo has a lot to prove in this league, and I know Derek Young certainly has a lot to prove in this league. But I also
right.
think those are the guys who have more chemistry with Sam Darnold than the guys who were out there on Sunday. Um, and so I'm hoping that at least one of them, be great if both of them could be put back in the mix. Think you will be able to do a better chance of doing what they wanted to do. I will also give Kubiak a little credit, and maybe that's why some of the stuff he wanted, maybe he went away from that because of the, like not having some of the guys who had showed up before. I mean, Cody White didn't make the team initially, but he was on the
Right.
field week one. You know what I mean? So
Right.
we'll see how that plays a role. I mean, it's not going to be the end all be all. Those guys aren't saving you,
Sure.
but when you're deficit in a position, any little bit helps. You know what I mean? Like any little bit can make a
Well,
difference.
and yeah, I think, Bobo is he's not a bad receiver.
No.
I think he can help the receiving core, but your point again earlier was big. Like if you replace Horton with Bobo and you start blocking, right? In that scheme needs its wide receivers to block.
Mm-hmm.
And you get Bobo out there blocking instead, that's different. That's a almost like a tight end out there. I wanted to see them use Robbie Oots more. I think
Yeah, me
Robbie,
too.
as a lead blocker, we saw so much success with him as a lead blocker
Right.
um, in the preseason, and then they just went away from it
Yeah.
for whatever reason,
Yeah. I think
which was weird to me.
something to watch this game, especially, will be. I think Kubiak actually is really good at the scripted plays. I think that's obvious.
Hmm.
When there are scripted scenarios, offense runs
Yep.
smoothly. There is, we got to see, like, beyond the scripts, what can he do? And I think
Right.
that'll be the big narrative going into week two. I mean, not well,
week two.
thing to watch for. I'll say underrated. I don't think anybody's paying attention to that. Something I'm paying attention to because I think it will
Right.
make the difference between whether this offense can improve or not.
Right. So Robbie Oots played 37% of the offensive snaps. He played 19 snaps.
He
I
played
want to
what?
see that number go up.
Yeah,
What's that?
that's at 19.
Yep.
That's a little.
He
That's
played
surprising. That's
19.
all.
Arroyo played 16. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think they've gotta come up with a little different plan. They got to figure some stuff out.
How many snaps
Are
on
we doing
offense
a
were there total?
say again?
How many snaps on offense were there total?
52.
Oh, yeah. Again, it goes back to the identity thing. Like
Yep.
that's not who you said you were.
Yep. You know what too? Like even if you were gonna lose to the Niners, lose your way. Lose trying to
Exactly.
establish your identity.
Yes.
Lose running out of I formation.
Yep.
Lose using a fullback. Lose because you're not great at outside zone yet. Right? Lose running play action. Not trying to do some other random stuff that like you know.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
are we doing a preview?
Yeah, I'd like to.
You got time?
Try to do that midweek, if we
Okay.
can. I'll get with you on the schedule, but I'd love to do a preview. Really wanted to do one this time, but yeah, I'd love to. It's a lot to get into with it. It's an interesting matchup for a lot of reasons, and so
Yes.
definitely want to try to preview that game. So be on the lookout for that. All right, let's tell people they can find you. Let's get us out of here.
Tino Junior 20 at BlueSky. Also, I'm live tweeting the game. That was actually a lot of fun. Thank you for everybody who participated. We actually did get some pretty good traction with that on the Seahawks 360 Blue Sky account. But you can find me both of those places. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was fun interacting with the folks too, for sure.
Yep, and you can find the Seahawks 360 pod at Seahawks 360 pod on X, and also you can find us at Seahawks 360 on Blue Sky. Tino
Mm-hmm.
runs live tweeting on the Blue Sky account. I run live tweeting on the X account. Pretty good amount of engagement actually, especially as we got into the game on
Mm-hmm.
Twitter as well. So
Yeah,
that was pretty interesting. A lot of posts, some post game interaction and stuff. So good
that's
stuff.
cool. Right on.
Good stuff. All right. That is all. That's it. That is all the time we have for today. That's it. We're out. And as always, despite being this sad,
I'm still
still
salty,
salty.
but go Hawks.
Go.